Welcome back, everyone. On this episode, we're going to go over one of the best pieces of equipment that gets shoved into the corner of every single gym known to man. All right, and that is the Glute Ham Developer, the GHD for short. This piece of equipment is a powerlifting staple for everyone, and it's an athlete staple as well that a lot of people forget about and they don't really like to use it. One of the best body weight modalities that you can use in order to train your glutes and your hamstrings and your low back. It is a posterior chain developer, all right? And it does so much more than just get you really strong at deadlifting and squatting. All right, if you are familiar with Triphasic and Cal Dietz work in Minnesota, they probably use this the most unique way I've ever seen, and for reasons that I am not smart enough to understand why they use it that way. I highly recommend checking them out. All right, but I will go over my favorite ways to train on this piece of equipment. Starting off, all right, I love to use isometrics. If you follow me on Instagram, you understand why. Here, this is a long lever isometric. So my legs are locked into the machine. My hips are locked into the pads. I am going to squeeze my glutes as hard as I can, drive my hip flexors into the pads, and then bring my body up straight. And if you want bonus points, look straight ahead as well. But notice how my body is in a completely straight line. I'm squeezing my butt as hard as I can, bringing my hip flexors into the pads, and I'm getting a very strong hamstring sensation the entire time. All right, this is my favorite way to rehab hamstrings. All right, so if you have a sprained or a pulled hammy, that's how I would start a lot of people. And it's also great for low back rehab as well, all right, because you are actively maintaining an isometric contraction. You're getting a lot of blood flow to that area, and you're able to build strength and resilience in a very static position that you're going to find that your low back's going to be in a static position a lot in your main compounds. So if it's weak isometrically, it is most definitely going to be weak eccentrically and concentrically as well. So being able to train it really strong and hard in isometric fashions, that is your best bet for bulletproofing your low back. Something that's also extremely difficult is as you bring forward and you hold more at a different angle. All right, now I'm getting a lot more hamstring. This is more resembling of a Nordic hamstring curl, all right? And then if I come up top and I bridge my hips, this is called a razor curl. Sometimes you're gonna have to play around with the pads and how this is set up. So right now, this is a little bit too far back for those modalities or those exercises. So this one's actually pretty cool. I've never seen a GHD made like this, where you just pull and can kind of move. As you can see, they're not the most efficient with moving it, all right? They're pretty difficult that way, and they do take up a lot of space, but what you get out of it is really, really cool. And so another way that I like to use this is, like I was saying, I had to move it in a little bit for the bent knee one. So if you bring your hips back and then you push forward, the further out I go, the craziest hamstring feeling you're going to get, all right? And another tip is trying to bring your big toe in the back into the pad that's in the back, that little metal piece. If you're able to do that, you're gonna get a crazy hamstring stimulus, and you're able to hold that for about 2 to 3 minutes, all right? So that's how I would also go. So you have your long lever, medium lever, then you have your short lever of where you're holding, getting a lot of glutes here as well. And then you have the actual reps of where you go all the way down, and then you bring yourself back up. All right, you go all the way down, and then you bring yourself back up. All right, that is how it's traditionally used, those exercises. You have glutes, you have hamstrings, you're gonna have calves, you're gonna have low back. You're gonna have so much valuable muscle groups being targeted with this piece of equipment that's honestly forgotten about in a lot of gyms. All right, we just trained our posterior chain, glutes, hamstrings, calves, low back. All right, very hard when you do those for a lot of reps. Then you can start holding med balls and getting a little bit heavier with adding weight. Now we're gonna go from posterior to anterior. We're gonna work the front of the body. So here's a great core exercise, and a couple of great core exercises I like to show you. Is the GHD sit-up is very popular amongst CrossFit athletes and to the likes, but your feet are locked in. Slight bend in the knees, you go all the way down, and then you crunch yourself back up. Very similar to how like a Jefferson curl would be done, where we're working spinal segmentation, where we go all the way down, and then we try to curl all the way back up. We go all the way down, big stretch, and then curl on the way up. This one's moving a little bit, so it's getting me a little scared, I'm not gonna lie. But it's not going anywhere, but it does feel like it's gonna move on me. So if you see my hesitance, you understand that's why. Not all of them are made like this. This is the first one I've ever seen made like this, where it can kind of move back and forth. Very interesting, very neat setup on how this one's done. This one's by Rogue, but I've never seen this made this way before. But that was definitely challenging mentally as well. Something that's really cool as well as what you can do is do isometric holds at the top. So this is very similar to a hollow body hold, arms out. And you can also add weights here. And you can also add rotations in this isometric hold as you're going. This is very challenging on the abs. All right, and it's very good at getting some rotation in a static position as well. So that resembles like a hollow body on the floor. As you come up off the ground, you're adding gravity, pulling you down, so it increases the difficulty of the exercise. Definitely not what I would start with for a lot of people. I would always start on the ground, so ground-based activities, and then slowly work yourself back up. But using the GHD, one, you look like a freaking badass in the gym. If you can go over to this machine and you know what you're doing, it's not even a machine because you're doing everything on it. If you can go in any weight room and you see one of these and you can walk right over and you know exactly what you're doing, if I'm in that same gym, I'm gonna look at you and I'm gonna give you props. I'm gonna think you know what you're doing. If you always look at this and you're scared or intimidated and you go over to the crunch machine and you just do 100 reps at 25 pounds, I don't really think you know what you're doing. And that's just how it is. All right, so if you're able to use the GHD, the forgotten piece of equipment, to that extent, I think I know what the hell you're talking about. Now, this is a bonus one. I put this in my programs. So this is called a Dragonfly. It's a reverse crunch to a Dragonfly on the GHD. This one is by far the hardest. So you're gonna hold on to something. You're gonna reverse crunch up. You're going to extend your legs, and then you're going to fall down. Oh, I'm only gonna do one of those because my abs are pretty cooked from doing the demos. But as you can see, you're crunching up, trying to pull your belly button towards your ribs. Then you're going to extend your legs and then slowly go down. That is a very hard, very hard variation of that exercise that you can also do on the floor where you're holding onto a rack. An incline bench, that works as well. But that exercise right there is great. Now I'll do one more to see what the take look like. All right, because I'm also getting a little bit of an ab pump right now. But it's great to get expansion as you crunch up. Then you bring your legs out, and then you feel like Rocky Balboa, Rocky IV, he's fighting the Russian. And you slowly go down. And that's it, all right? So, in review, the GHD, the Glute Ham Developer, yes, it has its cons. It takes up a lot of space. Once you get ridiculously strong, you're gonna have to do a lot of reps. But that's what they make the heavy med balls for, is to be able to hold and do the reps like that. But you can do everything in the posterior, the straight-legged isos, the bent knee isos, medium tier, long lever, short lever. The further out you go, the harder it is. Definitely don't shy away from using this machine, because as you can see, I just gave you probably 5 to 8 different exercises that are very challenging, and they require no body weight. They just require this piece of machinery. And I love it, all right? This is awesome. I think it's an old school exercise. Louis Simmons, Westside Barbell, uses it all the time. Like I mentioned before, Cal Dietz had Triphasic. In Minnesota, the way they use it is crazy. It's absurd, and I'm not even gonna do justice trying to demonstrate those types of exercises. So I think 99% of people do it wrong at a commercial gym anyways. So play around with that, and then something that you can also know, this is a bonus tip, of different foot positioning that you can use in the back. All right, so wide feet, closed feet, toes in, toes out. You'll notice different hamstring activations as you go from that as well. All right, that's all for me. See you next time. Hitman out.